So at the very end of our session recording this time around, I introduced the concept of Steve Peters' Gremlin twins, unreasonable and unhelpful expectations. So let's talk a little bit more about them and how you might begin to discover whereabout they're hiding in your world. So, of course, the Gremlin twins are a brilliant way of describing a couple of glitches in the computer system. So that's where they are coming from. They're information that is stowed in your computer that is not particularly helpful. And as their names would suggest, they're around what we are expecting from certain situations, perhaps from certain other people, or on many occasions from ourselves. So our expectations can be both external and internal to self. Now, plenty of our expectations are going to be massively in line with our reality, and these aren't likely to cause us too much bother. The issue and the reason that it's so useful to explore the Gremlin twins is because here our expectations are unhelpful. And as I mentioned in the clip, in my experience with the work that I do with folks, especially folks when they're working one-to-one, when they can be really, really honest, there's very little that causes more issue than this duo on a sort of day-to-day basis. I mean, yes, there are plenty of other things that can be hugely problematic, but on a day-to-day basis, unreasonable and unhelpful expectations are the root cause, shall we say, of a lot of limbic responses. Why, you might very well wonder, and that is a really good question. And it's because, realistically, we would prefer that the world around us was the favourable, optimistic version of events that we very often have in our heads that it should be. Please note the use of the words should be. This is how we imagine it should be. It should work out for us. People should do what we would like them to do. They should understand exactly what it is we are thinking, what we need. Their behaviours should be aligned with what we believe is right. They certainly shouldn't be what we believe is, for example, rude or disrespectful or downright unhelpful. So the expectations we have of the environment around us, and whether or not those expectations are met or not, is massively important to us, especially when we are looking at our world through the lens of a limbic response or a human response. Very briefly, when things are aligned with our expectation, broadly speaking, we are not likely to experience anything other than good. It's exactly how I expected it to be. The computer will probably give the messaging of carry on, human. On you go, all is well. But when our things that are happening around us are not in line with our expectations, and especially when they are bumping up against belief systems and value systems around what is right and what is wrong, what is correct and what is not, there we are likely to have a limbic response. And it's that limbic response that is going to begin to make that situation or that dynamic start to feel that little bit more challenging. And here is where those Gremlin twins can be a bit problematic, because it may very well be we are carrying around what feels to be a perfectly justified viewpoint about what someone else should be doing, or what a particular role in an organisation should be doing. But that doesn't mean that that expectation is necessarily either helpful or reasonable. In fact, on many occasions, it will be neither of those things. But we are treating it as a truth because it's one of our expectations, and therefore it must be right. So, the world of unreasonable and unhelpful expectation, if you like, generates friction in our day-to-day, and friction as we now know, is very likely to wake up a chimp. And nothing is going to get a chimp out of bed faster than the overall perspective that someone else or something else is out of line. It's not meeting our expectations, and therefore it is wrong. Here, we're very likely to have that limbic response. So how would we know if one of the Gremlin twins or both of the Gremlin twins was on the loose? And it might be worth us pausing, noticing and checking that what we're operating off at the moment isn't either unhelpful or unrealistic. Well, for me, I've deployed a system whereby if I hear myself using the words should or shouldn't or ought not or anything along those lines more than once or twice about a certain thing, I've kind of got this little red flag that pops up, if you like, and says, hang on a minute, wait. This would appear to suggest that what is happening at the moment is not in line with what I thought should be happening. It's not in line with my expectations because I've just used the word should or shouldn't, ought or ought not. Therefore, it might be worth me pausing and checking. And yes, I'm going to be completely honest with you. A large proportion of the time when I notice and I stop and I ask, what was my expectation here? And I run it back to myself, it is just a tad unreasonable. And at the very least, it's unhelpful. You know, I have unreasonable expectations like, you know, people should agree with me. That I should have got that right first time, that people should somehow magically be able to read my mind and know exactly what I'm trying to say, even when I'm being exceptionally inarticulate. That people should basically just, you know, just do things the way I would do them, you know, surely. Wow, what's the problem there? I'm exaggerating slightly, but not much. And you can begin to see how that's either unhelpful or unrealistic, depending on which you want to describe it as being. I'm going to put it down as actually both. But if that's playing out and governing how I'm viewing the world around me without me realizing it, then it's going to be waking up that chimp an awful lot of the time. And I am going to be experiencing an emotional response to the things that are out of line an awful lot of the time. The good news here is this. The Gremlin twins can, with a little bit of intentional effort and a lot of patience, be rewired to be more aligned with our reality. First of all, we have to catch them, we have to find out where they are, and we have to find out what they are. So I'm hoping that's a few ideas to get you started. The additional expectations versus reality exercise, which you can see in the next clip, will help you take it the next step further. But for now, I'll leave you to reflect on where you might discover Gremlin twins in your world.